Good morning. Hi, it's Stacy. Let me get some coffee in and we'll get started. Good morning, everyone. It is Stacy. I'm loving my veteran, and this is walking in my shoes this morning. Now I have to have a little bit of coffee in before we get started because it's just one of those things that are required in life is coffee. So we're going to have a few sips of that and get on about our day. So I hope that everyone made it through the day yesterday. And we're going to continue on in this series. It has to do with the crisis in Afghanistan and how we can have our own tools and be better prepared for what we're going to face. We need to face the reality that we also are going to be emotionally tired. We can also deal with us being afraid, and so those are some things that we need to address. In order to make this whole situation in transition work, we have to see things from each other's perspective. It is key to being able to see things through each other's perspective. And I know that this morning when I was talking to Michelle, I was talking about things that are just second nature for us, things that are second nature for us. I'm sure most of y'all already figured out that after my post yesterday that I'm afraid at times and I'm angry. Good morning, Pamela. And I'm angry and I'm sad and I'm scared and I'm enraged. And I have all those emotions like everybody else. Good morning, Meredith. Like everybody else has, I have those same emotions. But what I want to start with is it's so easy, and I get this by talking to other people like my family, or we see that veterans have families have come back and said, well, I don't understand why he just can't snap out of it. He's not in the military anymore. I don't understand why he's so obsessed with it because he's not active duty anymore. um, so one of the things that I want to talk about that is so important, morning Sue, morning Jen, is this second nature that our veterans feel. Okay, remember we have said this 1,000 times that they are programmed to be warfighters. They are always going to be warfighters. That's who they are. That's what they are. That's who they're instilled to be. And people are like, well, they got out, And I can remember with my ex-husband, he was excited to get out, right? He was ready to get out, and that was just something they looked for, and they're like, okay, that part of my life is over, let's move on. Well, that part of your life is never over, and you don't move on. It just doesn't go away. And I think I experienced that, and I was talking to Michelle this morning about how I relate to it because of being a paramedic. It's just one of those things that you're just trained to do. I remember when 9/11 happened, all I wanted to do was to be there. I wanted to be part of it. I wanted to help. I wanted to do, because I was a firefighter at the time and I was still in EMT school, but I wanted to go. I wanted to be there. I wanted to do. I wanted to help. I had some search and rescue experience. I just wanted to go. That's where I felt like I needed to be, and I kind of went in this autopilot mode. And there were multiple times throughout my career in EMS that I realized that I just did what I did because I was trained to do it. And one of them became when Hurricane Matthew came to Georgia, or was forecasted to come from Georgia. We did the largest complete hospital evacuation that had ever been done on the East Coast. And the ambulance service I work for called me and said, "Hey, I need you to go start. I need you to go start evacuating patients. That's where you want to do. Um, you just need to go start evacuating patients." And when I get there, I got a phone call from one of the girls at the state, because I did a lot of training within the state. And she's like, "Stacey, where are you at?" And I said, "I'm in Brunswick." And she says, "Good, I need you to be the ground crew coordinator." And I was like, "Okay." So all these ambulances are coming from all over everywhere. And we successfully evacuated 178 patients in 14 hours. But I remember my boss calling, right? I remember my boss calling, and they said, you need to go to work. I need you to transport patients. And I said, nah, Kelly Joyner kind of really wants me to stay here. And so she had to call, the state had to call and say, look, she's now working for us. We're paying her. But it was second nature. It was second nature to me to be able to say, okay, we have this crisis. They had closed all of Brunswick, Georgia down, right? So there was no fuel. I'm bringing ambulances in from 3 hours away to take patients 3 hours back. And now all of a sudden we don't have any fuel. So it was a simple matter of me picking up a phone and making a phone call, but it was second nature. It was instinct. I just did it. I did the same thing on a wreck we watched on the way home from my mom's in South Carolina with my son who was in EMT school at the time. And it was a horrible accident. But we got this patient out of the car. An ambulance pulled over that was like, they didn't have anybody in. I mean, no patient. They didn't have a patient. They only had one crew. They weren't even like functioning. They were out of service. And I'm like, look, I need your backboard. I need this. I need that. And they're like, whoa, whoa. I was like, just give it to me. We'll straighten it all out afterwards. But it became instinctual. So when our veterans now see what they're seeing, it becomes instinctual for them. They just do it out of instinct. They do it out of reflex. They do it out of a calling because they're programmed to do this. So the same thing happens to them, that they get this instinct with which to do stuff. You don't ever turn it off. You never turn it off. When the pandemic started here, and by that time I was already sick and out of work, I had worked on a pandemic plan that was adopted by FEMA. And so I was getting like phone calls and emails, and I wasn't even working because I knew the answers and I could just spit them out. And so it was just something instinctively I did. And the same thing is happening now to our veterans. And that's where they're feeling less worthy. I remember being told, you can never go back on an ambulance again. It's the same thing. It's that feeling of, wait a minute, I want to go. This is my job. This is what I do. This is what I'm trained to do. This is what I'm inbred to do. And now you're sitting here, and I don't care that I'm 100% permanent and total. I need to go be with my brothers. This is what brothers and sisters, this is what I do. And so you have that instinctiveness of, this is what I do, this is my mission, this is my calling, this is my job. And then being told, knowing, they still know in the back of their head, I can't do this. So that is a mental issue, a thing that psychologically they are dealing with right now watching this go on. They are dealing with that watching it go on. So you have to be prepared for that, and you have to understand that as you go in. Okay? And so they get majorly frustrated. I can remember the day that we went to the doctor and we were doing my disability paperwork for my short-term disability, and the doctor checking the box, this is permanent. And I'm like, whoa, 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 you know, and I felt like somebody had just shot me right through the heart. So I can understand how these veterans feel. And I think that when you take that step out of the box, you understand that too. You have to take that step out to see, oh my gosh, this is really how they feel. You don't just stop being military. You don't just stop being a warfighter. You will always be one. I will always be a paramedic. Always. You will never stop that. That's who I am. It's part of who I am. I'm not going to just stop being a paramedic. They're not going to stop being a warfighter. It's who they are. So the other things you're going to see happen in some of these mentalities is you may see them packing a go bag or getting ready to pack a go bag. That happens because they always had one. So that may happen. If you have guns and weapons and stuff like that, they may be more vigilant about keeping them loaded and keeping them closer by and keeping ammunition more readily available. That's gonna happen. They're going to also get, and you need to let them do it. You need to let them do that. You can't look at them and say, well, this is the stupidest idea ever to pack a go bag. Y'all know that they understand that they can't go, but what they do when they pack this go bag is, what happens if something goes wrong at home and you have to leave or whatever, then they're prepared. So you need to let them go through that. Another thing you may see is that you may see them not keep up with their hygiene. So they may like not take a shower as often because when they were in country, they didn't. And it's a more comfortable feeling, whatever reason, it's a more comfortable feeling. And I finally had to look at Carl and say, "You need a shower today." Okay, thank you. And but that is just that mindset that you're in. You know, they didn't do that, so they're in that mindset. Okay, um, so that happens. And so, okay, so that happens. They get in that mindset. And you may see that happening that, hey, look, I don't feel like taking a shower today. Okay, well, and then some point you have to draw the line and say, you smelling bad. You may see their sleep patterns change. It happens. Um, Battle buddies calling too, and they might need to go and be there for them. Absolutely. There might be a time when they just say, hey, look, I need to go to the VFW, or I need to go hang out with my battle buddy, or I need to go do this, because that is a connection and a community that I don't care how much we want to be that person, we're not. I don't care how much we want to be that person, we're not. They want to be with like minded people. That's why it's important for us as the spouses and the family to talk and be among ourselves, because we understand each other in a way they don't. We see things differently in a way that they don't. So you have to understand that. So, you know, you've got the hygiene issues going on. Um, Frustration, anger. It is going to come. It is going to come. They're going to remember the images, the nightmares that they've had. You may see an increase in nightmares coming back. The images from their time in service may come back more vivid at this point in their experiences. I know that I had my meltdown yesterday, and I called Stephanie, and I was like, I'm having a meltdown, right? And so yeah, made plans to go fishing trip, and that's important, to be together, that connection together. And then I called Stephanie, and I was like, you know, I was like falling apart, and I was like, I just can't do this. And that was okay. I reached out to Stephanie, and I knew I couldn't do it, and that was okay. You know, but I talked to her about the images, the images of, you know, 9/11 is a massive PTSD for me as a paramedic. And so the images of 9/11 came flooding back into my head as real as if I was watching it the first time. So their images may come back, and their war experiences may come back way more vivid now than they had been. Remember I told you about PTSD is kind of like this movie that plays in the back of their mind. Now it's moving way up in their brain. So you have to be prepared for that. The images, good morning Melissa, the images, the night sweats, um, some of their disconnect, some of their anger, their loss and mourning of their buddies, those things are going to be very real to them, more so now, possibly more so now than they were before. So we have to be aware of that. So you might see that depression come in, you might see that shut off come in, you might see that short fuse come in, that hey, we've worked so hard and we're past all this, and we're getting past the short fuse, and now they're in almost a constant state of alertness or triggeredness, not necessarily completely triggered, but they're at a much more higher alertness state. It's almost like we become secondary to their thought at this moment, because they are really remembering that experience. They're really thinking about that experience. And so there's a lot of anger going on. What did I do this for? What did my buddy die for? We did this to other countries. So you're seeing a lot of that. You're seeing so much of that come back into play. And again, that goes on. The feeling of being left. Um, leaving them, people leaving them. Buddies died. They've disconnected from some of their battle buddies at times. Um, a lot of these guys, this may be the second, we may be their second marriage. A lot of these guys lost their first marriage or maybe disconnected from their children. And so we are the second one because that's already a loss that they've experienced. So the fear of loss is another issue that they have going on. Um, and that's going to put me on a tangent that I didn't want to go on, but I'm going on it. I was on another group looking because I get a lot of messages. Good morning, Haley. I get a lot of messages, and this girl said, and I'm not going to use it word for word, so I don't quite go into where it was at. But she said, since Thursday, my life has been unbearable. I'm walking out tonight. I'm leaving my wedding ring on the counter, and I'm done. I don't understand why he's acting this way. And I'm like, huh? I couldn't even say what I wanted to say. I couldn't even say what I wanted to say to that person. I'm like, really? Are you serious? So now you just added to this. Um, there's an increased risk of suicide. Okay? I need you to be aware that there is an increased risk of suicide. It is very important. Okay? It is very important that you are aware of the increased risk of suicide. And I will post today some of the signs and red flags that you need to listen to. I'm also going to put a song on here. It's called Red Flags. It is by Soldier Hard. Jeff Bolero actually is Soldier Hard. And he is a combat veteran with PTSD. And he talks about the red flags of suicide. So you need to be very aware of that increased risk of suicide. So that also happens. So I think that when you understand that these things can typically happen, now you're aware. See, it's the unknown that we don't do well with. It is the unknown that we don't do well with. Um, so here's what, yeah, we did that too, Jen. Someone was on there, and we looked a lot of stuff from on the ground. So there's a lot of unknown that we don't when we have to deal with the unknown that we don't know how to handle. We don't know how to deal with it. We don't know where to go with it when we have the unknown. But now that you know that these things can happen, now how do you get prepared for it? How do you walk them through this? You can't fix this. So let me just tell you that you cannot fix this. I'm going to say it again. You cannot fix this. You may feel we may feel like we're second. That now all of a sudden their battle buddies become first in their lives. And that's okay. It doesn't mean, because I'm going to tell you this again, and I've said this before, there is no way, and if any of us think for 1 minute that we can have the same intimate relationship, and I don't mean they were sexually intimate, I mean emotionally intimate, that we can have the same intimate relationship with our veteran as they had with their true battle buddy, the one who had their back when it was a two-man team and they were one up, one down, or whether it was a group or a squad or whatever, and they were dependent on them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for as long as they were deployed to protect each other and have each other's back all the time. And that level of trust that if you want to go to sleep, you have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they're going to be there for you, protecting you. You're never going to have that intimate relationship. And she says that Mary says their bond with their battle buddy is always going to be stronger than a marriage. I think it's different. I think that they're different animals. They're a different animal. It's just like my bond with my children is going to always be different than my bond in my marriage. We have an incredibly strong marriage. Finally, we have an incredibly strong marriage, and I trust him with my life, and he trusts me with his. But that intimacy of that relationship with their battle buddies you'll never replace that, and it will never be the same. So don't try. So they may want their battle buddies now. And there's a lot of women out here, so let me just tell you. I mean, this is it. Have you ever had days where you just feel really sick and you feel really down and you feel really crappy and you just want your mommy? Yeah, even as grown adults, it's just like I just want my mama. Yeah, we do that, and so it is a that's where they are. So please understand that them talking to their battle buddy, them talking to them about what's going on in the world, doesn't mean they don't want to include you. It means that they understand and they truly get it, and that is that intimacy that they need. Okay, so don't sit here and be, well, you're on the phone with the guy from VFW. You want to go hang out at the VFW. Da 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 da. Yeah, they might because they need to be with like-minded people who really get it. Because again, if the war and what they experienced was so bad that gives them PTSD, that gives them nightmares, why do they always want to bring it home to you? They don't. And don't freak out. Don't tell them you understand. You don't. Do not tell them you understand. You don't. Unless you've been in that exact situation, unless you are a veteran yourself that is going through it because you both serve, don't tell them you get it because you don't. You don't get it. I think Carl and I did that with each other. We're like, oh, I understand, I get it. And he was telling me something, and I was really triggered about a call I had been on where they had dipped a baby in boiling water. And he goes, oh, I understand. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you've never watched the skin fall off of a baby that had been dipped in boiling water, you don't have a flipping clue. Okay? You don't have a flipping clue. So don't tell them you understand. Don't tell them you understand. The pushing away, and this is very true. We are their mission. Okay, so understand we are their mission. They want to protect us. It may not always seem like it when they say some of the things they say. It may not always feel like it when they say the things they say or act the way they do, but we are their mission, and their goal is to protect us. And remember, they don't sugarcoat anything. Things they say are very blunt in how they feel, and they just put it out there. And when anger kicks in, they say a lot of hateful things. Not because they mean to hurt you, because they're angry and they don't know how to let it out appropriately. So don't take it all that way. Okay? And again, if you have to walk away from the situation because the anger and the stuff is coming out and you're like, hey, I just don't want to be talked to like this. And you have that right to say, stop, hold on a minute. I really want to hear what you have to say. But not when you're talking like this. I'm going to go in my room. I'm going to go in the backyard. This is not the time, and I'm going to tell you this, this is not the time to jump in the car and say, I'm going for a ride. Not the time. Not the time to say that. And that is my place to go, is to jump in the car and go for a ride. But this is not the time to say that. We have to be able to understand how they go through. We want to be able to understand how they get this. And we understand now that protecting us is now their new mission. So jumping in the car and going for a ride because you're pissed off and you need your space. And that's my go-to thing. I'll go for a ride. I'll go for a ride. I'll ride down the road. I'll come right back. It's not going to happen right now. I'm going to be like, hey, I'm going to go sit in my room for a little bit. I'm going to go sit and think. I'm going to go sit out back. Just get out of my bubble for a few minutes. And we're fine with that. But understand that you still don't have to give up your boundaries in understanding this. You still don't have to let it come back in, but you need to be prepared for what they're going to say. You need to be prepared and understand their mindset, because that's going to help you and them navigate through what is going on. Okay, so understand that that's okay. Drinking, we're going to see an increase in it usually. Doesn't make it acceptable. Okay? Doesn't make it not acceptable. That is for you and your veteran to work out and determine what your rules and your boundaries are, and what you will and will not allow. But a tendency to drink more also happens during times of stress. So understand that. Um, yeah, if I go for a car ride, exactly. If I go for a car ride, he wants to go with me. Like yesterday, Carl didn't. He wanted some time and he knew exactly where I was going. And the very first thing he said to me was, "Take your gun." So, I mean, yeah, they're in that protection mode. And we also live in a little different situation. He knows that as a paramedic, I know everybody up and down these roads, and I kind of be taken care of. So he knows that too and has a little more peace with that. So just please understand that when you're going forward into this stuff, that you don't have to let um, you don't have to let that. The checking in frequently when you guys are apart, call them, text them, check in, let them know. It is important that you do that. I know it sounds like, oh my God, no, I'm going to be accountable to him. No, you're not. You're respecting him. If you already know that it is his something he needs, right? That it's something he needs, and he needs to know where you are because, or he or she, because that's your protection. That's what they do. Isn't it respectful to check in? Isn't that being respectful to them to check in? Isn't that being respectful? Like I told Carl when I went to town yesterday, I said, "Oh, I want to go get a pedicure." I said, "Are you okay if I go get a pedicure?" And he goes, "Of course I'm okay if you go get a pedicure. Why would I?" I said, "No, I'm not asking you like for your permission to get a pedicure. I'm like, I'm gonna be gone. I would like to get a pedicure. Why I'm out, I just wanted you to know in the time I'm gonna be away, would that be appropriate?" And he's like, "Well, yeah." And then the very next words were, "Where are you gonna get it done at?" So, it was fine. And when he realized what I was saying, it became a respect issue. It became respectful. And so that's all it's about, is learning to respect that. And I'm going to tell y'all, you want to talk about a point in your life where if your relationship is bad, or you're going through some rocky, rough times, if if you guys can navigate, if we can learn to navigate through this, you're going to gain a whole new level of respect for them, and they're going to gain a whole new level of respect for you. So that is huge. Okay. And you do have to get it both ways. You do need to encourage them. Hey, look, I'm worried about you too. Can you check in with me? Um, or same thing. I mean, Melissa's husband's gone. Just go back in, and if you don't get them, and they haven't answered you, then send them a text and say, "Hey, just checking on you. Just checking on you." And it's important that we learn to do that. That will only help our overall relationships and our overall situations. So that's another big thing that we can do. Um, we're both babies of our family. We grew up less than 20 miles from each other, but that doesn't mean we had the exact same childhood experiences. Yeah, it's true. So just learn to check in with each other. Learn to respect each other. You're going to find a whole new world out there, and that maybe this, we talk about, does the bad bring good? If it brings respect and it brings understanding, then maybe it did bring a lot of good. The other thing, and I'm going to leave us on this today, and we're going to delve into this a little more tomorrow, is it is okay for you to be afraid. It is okay for you to be angry. It is okay for you to have fear. It is okay for you to be sad. It's okay for you to be frustrated. Those are normal reactions. Those are normal reactions to what's going on in this world. Okay, now we have an added stressor, an added key in our lives that most people don't. We have a veteran who has PTSD. So it makes it a little more difficult sometimes. So that's why you need to reach out to each other. That's why we're doing so many more check ins here. That's why we're posting resources. That's why we're opening Zoom rooms. Um, let's Talk tomorrow night will be about this whole situation. Our veterans are going to be there to tell you how they feel. It can be some positive experiences going on. So it is those things that we do, feeling and being there for each other, learning to understand each other, being supportive of each other. There are times we all struggle, and that's normal. That's a normal reaction. So struggle. It's okay. It's okay. And it's okay to reach out. None of us are perfect. None of us are superwomen. Well, we are kind of. But we all have, in the case of Superman, we all have our kryptonite. And there's moments that we all have our weakness. So reaching out is okay, and it's encouraged, and it creates a stronger bond. You know, we talk about them and their battle buddies. We are each other's battle buddies, y'all. That's what we are. We are our own network of battle buddies because nobody is going through this like we are. Okay? Yeah, you're afraid, you're pissed off, and you're standing tall navigating the feelings that she's having and processing. And besides that, Michelle and I wrote great political cartoons this morning. Don't lick the stamps, don't drink the tea, and be careful that you're allergic to the Botox. That's all I can say about that on this. Don't lick the stamps, don't drink the tea, and Botox is causing an allergy. If y'all need to talk, we're right here. Meredith says she's right there. Just reach out to her. That's what we do. You're going to be able, and she's right, you're going to be able to strengthen our bond with our veterans at this time more than any other. It's just like I said yesterday, it was a light at the end of my tunnel, but it was sad. 2 weeks ago, this whole country thought it was okay. Well, a lot of this country thought it was okay to kneel for the flag. 2 weeks ago, it was okay not to respect this country. When I rode 40 miles to the store, to town to go to the store, I saw as many American flags as I saw during 9/11. And all the signs on the churches and the businesses all say, God bless America. So in the midst of the darkness, there's always good. We are becoming America again. We're becoming united again. No matter who's trying to tear us apart, we're becoming united again. We have this opportunity to grow and strengthen with our veteran in a way we've never had before. We have that because we're getting a little glimpse into their life. They're in the midst of the darkness, there's always light. And that's the thing we have to always remember. So I'm going to open the room for just a little bit at 10. If somebody has some issues they need to discuss, that'll be open for a little bit. It'll be in the group. Don't forget Stephanie is doing Wellness Wednesday this afternoon at 6:30. Of course, I'll be here tomorrow, and then tomorrow night we have Let's Talk. And we've only been able to get in it if you've been a member of the group, but I'm actually going to put that back on the page this week so that anybody who needs to get and talk can talk. So you'll be able to get in there as well. And that is just a great support structure that we have. So we want you to reach out to us that way. We're here for you. We have a lot of people who are here for you. Meredith has volunteered. We're all here. We are getting geared up for boot camp. I'm going to get a lot more of the boot camp stuff out. If you're signed up for boot camp, I'm not ignoring you. I just need to get through this week. So we have boot camp as well. I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we are loving my veteran. Y'all have a blessed day. Bye.